Well, we'll start seated. So if you have a block, earlier in the week I was talking to one of the students was struggling. Oh yeah, let me put you guys on the mute y'all. Yeah, so if you have a block, that little bit of elevation does so much to give you freedom in the lower back and that connector muscle, the psoas muscle, oftentimes, which gets really, really tight from sitting. When we elevate our pelvis just a little bit, it releases that sense of holding pattern that most of us have there, and it'll give you just a little bit more release or space in the lower back so that you can feel the natural curve of your spine in that area. So you might even lift and move your sits bones back, even if you don't have a block to sit on. Your hands come to rest on the tops of your thighs. And with your eyes closed, just exploring the movement forward and backwards, side to side, for the sake of starting to feel what center is for you. I think that's like such an important metaphor for life, the idea that being off center is what helps us figure out how to find center. So being off track isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just a matter of keeping our awareness on the moments when we falter. And once you find that sense of stillness, dropping into a connection with your breath, feeling the way that the breath sculpts the body, that subtle sense of press into the container of your torso as you breathe in. And a release and a softening, maybe even a sense of grounding or connecting with the ground beneath you as you exhale. Very, very gradually beginning to expand that so that your breaths in are dropping down into the belly, expanding three-dimensionally into your ribs. You can even imagine your breath moving all the way up into the dome of your skull. Then follow your exhale all the way back down from the top of the head to the base of your spine, letting the muscles soften and relax away from the bones. Allow yourself to let the breath move into the nooks and the crannies of your body that feel a little held or tense, or maybe that you just feel disconnected from. Imagine your breath was this tool to enliven those parts of the body. And then the next time that you breathe in, take a moment at the top of that inhale to take one more sip of breath and hold your breath, letting your chin drop gently towards your chest and finding the lift of your pelvic floor and your lower belly. So we're connecting through the bandhas, the lock systems in the body, to retain our prana, our life force, in the torso. And when it starts to feel just slightly uncomfortable, letting the chin lift up and letting the breath back in, or rather letting the breath back out normally. A moment to observe after that breath retention. We'll do that one more time. Inhale again, fill up. Belly, chest, ribs, crown of the head, one more sip. And when you hold, there's a softening around the neck and the shoulders and the jaw, but we're finding the bandhas, chin to chest, pelvic floor, lower belly, pull in and up. And when it starts to feel just a little bit of a challenge, releasing that breath all the way back out again. This time, sweep the arms all the way up to frame your ears. Bring your palms to press above your head. And we're going to do that one last time with the fingertips reaching towards the sky. So this idea of taking the energy coiled at the base of the spine and moving it up through the fingers. Take a big breath in and imagine the energy of your body moving all the way up through those extended fingers, like there was a light coming out through the crown of your head. Holding your breath at the top as you continue to reach. Find that pelvic floor lift for 3, 2, and 1. Exhale, release. Bring your hands all the way back down to the tops of the thighs, pausing everything but your breath. So you're just noticing in a moment of stillness that affects maybe kind of a fluttering or an effervescence or a brightening of the energy of the body. And then let your eyes blink open, bring your hands down to the floor, and we'll transition into a downward facing dog straight from here. If you're listening to music, this is a great spot to start that. And you can let it be a slow unfurling into your downward facing dog. So curling the toes under and taking the sides of the waist up and back, reaching your heels towards the floor. And this one is an opportunity to move in whatever way you'd like. Not losing that sense of being really, really intentional with your breath. And that doesn't mean that you have to force the breath, but you're noticing if you have a tendency to hold on to a part of your exhale. Or you might notice if you're only breathing into your chest, and if instead you can invite it all the way down into your belly. So there's a sense of connecting your breath and your movement. Maybe you're nodding the head yes and no a little bit. Maybe wiggling the hips a little side to side. These are just suggestions, but really whatever you'd like to do, any way that you'd like to move in your downward facing dog. Just a few more moments to play around with that. Let's take one last breath in stillness. So reaching both heels towards the floor. Press into all 10 of your fingers, especially rooting down through your pointer finger and the base of your thumb. Maybe even imagine that the center of your palm is lifted. So we were talking about bandhas earlier. We actually have bandhas in our feet and our hands as well. So you're pressing down into fingertips and the butt of your wrist, but the center of your palm is lifted. That is what we consider the lock in the hands. Take one more big breath in and give it an open mouth exhale. Again, pressing down into the mat with your hands and your feet. And then look forward and walk your feet to meet your hands. So you're coming to the top of the mat in that forward fold, finding your ragdoll pose, reaching for opposite elbows, laying your belly to rest on your thighs, relaxing through the back of the neck and the head as you rock a little bit gently side to side. Notice if you're clenching through your toes, see if you can bring weight back into your heels slightly so that you're not making your toes do all of the work to keep you balanced. Bringing the body to stillness in the center, even more, feeding in the idea of the torso being heavy, that you don't have to use any effort at all. And there's a sense of the weight of the torso creating traction through your spine, spreading each vertebra away from one another. Releasing the hands all the way back down to the mat, start to roll up. Head and shoulders can be the last things to arrive all the way up. So letting that space between your shoulder blades remain round. Maybe a little shimmy shake as you come all the way up to stand. And then sweeping those arms all the way out and up so that you can bring your palms to press above your head. And keeping those hands up above your head, squeeze your inner thighs together as you reach through your hands. Exhale, fold all the way back down to the floor. Little bend in the knees so that the crease in your hips is where you're folding rather than from the lower back. Slide your hands up to your shin bones, find a half lift, lengthen from your head to your tailbone. And then plant your palms on the floor, making sure your feet are in between your hands. Take a giant step back with your left foot and lower your left knee all the way down to the floor. You're pressing down into your shin bone and the foot in opposing directions like you could rip the mat in half to rise all the way up. Once you're up, keeping that sense of press down, hug in with your inner thighs and reach for the clasp of opposite elbows. So making a frame for yourself. Strong with that scissoring action of your inner thighs as you drive your left hip crease forward. Start to lengthen the sides of the waist and move the arms back and the elbows up as you take your gaze up towards the ceiling or the sky if you're outside. One more big breath in, feeling that sense of side body length as your front body opens. And then exhale, release the hands all the way down to frame your front foot. Step back to your bent knee, downward facing dog. And then ripple forward through your spine. See if you can find that sense of undulation so it's one vertebra at a time coming into your high plank pose. And then exhale, elbows hug in and back. Always the option to bring these down as we transition all the way onto the belly. I've been really fond of practicing our Cobra Pose this way. I know for me, it just gives me a little more bandwidth. I don't feel so jammed up in the shoulders. If I slide my hands off of the mat so that my arms are bent at these 90-degree angles, like I have little wings. And if you want, you can even pop up onto your fingertips. It gives you a little bit more space. Lift and move your feet further back behind you and then press down to start to curl up. Pressing down into your hip bones and all 10 of your toes. And then soften around the neck and the shoulders. Breathe in the front of your body all the way up across your collarbones. And then exhale, release all the way back down onto your forehead. Bring your hands next to your shoulders, and you can either press back to child's pose or to add a little bit more strength building to the practice. Curl your toes under, fire up your legs and your belly, breathe in, and then exhale straight to the top of the push-up. Whole body is one unit. Hips roll up and back to downward facing dog. Bend your knees and lift your hips way up towards the sky. You're high on the balls of the feet. Now take your left leg straight up and back. Point those left toes towards the top back corner of the room. Tighten your lower belly and draw your right hip crease back, even though you're up on the ball of the foot. Now curl the left knee into your chest, roll forward, round through the space of your shoulder blades, and take a giant step. Place that left foot all the way up in between your hands. If it doesn't get there on its own, help it get there a little bit. You can even bring a hand to the back of the calf. And then bring your back knee all the way down to the floor and press down to lift up. Find the opposite elbow. Really, really nice, everybody. So hips are driving forward. That right inner thigh is scissoring forward, and the arm bones move back as your chest lifts. Really, really nice. Bend into that front knee even a little bit more if you can. Beautiful, Amanda, that's gorgeous. One more big inhale. Find that rise along the sides of the body like you were an inchworm moving. And then exhale, release your hands all the way back down to frame your front foot. Curl your back toes under, and we're going to take it to a supported warrior 3. Extend your right leg, straight back behind you to the height of your hip with your hands on the floor, so your fingertips are creating balance here. Look down the line of your body, make sure your right toes are facing the mat. Close off through those front ribs, so the space between the hips and the ribs is shortening so that the lower back isn't doing the work. Then squeeze your right glute and your right hamstring and lift that right heel up just a little bit higher. Step the feet together at the top of the mat. Slide the hands up to your shin bones, find your half lift, and exhale, release to your forward fold. Relax the neck and the shoulders. Press into all four corners of your feet, so inner edge of your foot. This is where we find the lock in the feet. So I want you to find a lift in the center of your arch at the same time you're gluing your big toe, your heel, and the pinky edge of your foot to the floor. Sweep those arms all the way out and up. Bring your palms to press above your head. Maybe add a little back bend. So hips forward, start to lift your chest, lift your gaze without opening through the front body. We want to feel this mostly in the upper back. Exhale, hands to heart center for equal standing or samastitihi. Find that breath in, reach up again, bring your palms to press. Little bend in your knees, that tilt forward in your hips. Keep the chest open as you fold all the way back down. Find your half lift, hands to the shin bones, or fingertips can remain on the floor this time. You're going to step the right foot to the back of the mat. Big long step so that you've got that 90-degree angle in your front knee, and bring your back knee all the way down to the floor. Inhale, Anjaneyasana pose, rising up. Finding that opposite elbow clasp. Supporting with the legs as you lift into the back bend. And remember, the back bend is only as far as that you feel like that core is supporting you. When it feels like you start to lose the connection to your abdominal region, you're maybe working a little harder than you need to. 2 more breaths. Breath is key. Let the breath fully happen. Your inhale to find the full expression of reach. Your exhale to find the softness. Release the hands all the way down to frame your front foot. Step back to that bent knee, downward facing dog. Option to stay here, lifting the hips up, coming up high on the balls of the feet, or option to roll forward and come into your high plank. Exhale all the way onto your belly again. Remember, elbows are grazing the sides of the ribs as you lower. Hands slide off of the mat, fingers forward, press into the feet to lift all the way up. Try to close those front ribs down just a little bit, and then broaden across the collarbones. So if it feels like your shoulders are curling in, widen across the chest a little bit more. Find where you can soften. It's different for all of us. One more inhale. Exhale, release to the forehead. Child's pose through the top of a push-up. Prepare by sliding the hands in first. Breath in, and then exhale, either hips up and back or hips to heels, and then downward facing dog. Keep that bend in your knees. Try to tilt your pelvis forward, which is going to give you more sense of working your glutes and giving you more arch in your lower back. Stay high on the balls of the feet as you sweep your right leg sky high, pointing the toes towards that top back corner of the room. Curl the knee in towards your chest, step the right foot all the way through to the space between your hands, and let your back knee lower down. Inhale, Anjaneyasana, opposite elbow clasp. It's normally the one that feels a little awkward. So setting it up for yourself this time. And remember, I give a lot of cues. Pick the stuff that feels like it lands on you, that it makes sense, and build it into the Rolodex of information that you kind of roll through with yourself. So that it's not about getting it right, it's about exploration. What's happening in your body moment to moment. 2 more breaths. Exhale, hands release down to frame that front foot. Supported warrior 3. Curl the back toes under, lift your back knee, take it forward. Left leg lifts up to the height of the hip. Try to lift the base of your belly off of your front thigh, and then lift that left foot up a little bit higher. Squeeze your left glute, clench your left hamstring. Step the feet together at the top of the mat and fold, release, forehead towards your shins. Relax your head and your neck. Slide the hands up, lift up halfway, and exhale, release to your forward fold. Find the roots of your feet, those 3 corners, to rise all the way up. We create a triangle with both of the feet. Hands come to touch, arm bones move back, lift up the gaze, lift up the chest like there was a string attached there. So you're energizing, open up, and then exhale, hands to heart center. We're gonna take this Sun Salutation C variation again with a little bit more speed. Inhale, reach up for Ardha Hastasana pose. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana pose. Inhale, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Clench your hands, step your left foot back and lower the knee. Just 1 long breath this time to rise up. Find your Anjaneyasana with that opposite elbow clasp. See if you can lengthen your breath all the way. Exhale, hands release all the way down to the floor. Inhale, step back to your bent knee, down dog. Exhale, roll forward, high plank, bring it all the way down onto your belly. Hands off of the mat, inhale, lift up, Cobra Pose variation. Exhale, back down to your forehead. Prepare the hands, breath in. Exhale to make your transition. Hips roll back on that exhale, take it to downward dog. Inhale, left leg lifts up and back. Exhale, step that left foot through and lower the knee. Breath in, arms all the way up. Opposite elbow clasp, make your frame. Exhale, hands down to the floor to prepare. Inhale, spring forward, extend the right leg back behind you to the height of the hip. Exhale, feet come to touch, fold belly to thighs. Inhale, half lifts. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up, palms above the head, adding the back bend if you'd like. And exhale, hands to heart center. Second side, inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, right foot back, lower the knee. Inhale, Anjaneyasana with your opposite elbow clasp. Exhale, hands down, step back to downward facing dog, breathe in. Exhale, roll forward, high plank pose. 1 more time, we take it all the way down to the floor. Ride that whole exhale to the mat. Hands slide up, breath in, lift up. Exhale, release to your forehead, hands underneath of shoulders, breathe in. Curl the toes under, exhale, press straight up. Keep breathing out as you press straight back. Inhale, right toes go sky high. Exhale, step that right foot through and lower the knee, keep breathing out. Inhale all the way up, find that opposite elbow clasp, lengthen your inhale. Exhale, hands down to the floor. Inhale, take it to your supported warrior 3. Left leg extends straight back behind you. Exhale, step the feet together, fold your belly to your thighs. Pull that navel towards the spine. Inhale, half lifts. And exhale, release. Long breath in, rising all the way from strong legs, strong belly. Bring your hands above the head, add the back bend. And exhale, hands to heart center. Let's find Utkatasana pose this time. Sink your hips low and back like you were sitting in an invisible chair. Rotate your inner thighs in and back like you were trying to turn the inner seams of your pants towards the space behind you. Sink a little bit lower, drop your fingertips down, see if you can graze the mat, and then bring those arms all the way up to frame your ears. Maybe even bringing your hands to touch, not at the expense of the neck and the shoulders. So if that starts to create too much tension, keep your hands separate or bring your hands to heart center. Take your gaze forward, lift your chest, squeeze those inner thighs, squeeze the lower belly, sink a little lower. One more big breath in to create that side body length. And then exhale, release, hands come all the way down to the floor. We're gonna find our way back to bent knee down dog. Option to jump back this time. So plant your palms, bend your knees, take a breath in to prepare. Exhale, you're gonna jump all the way back to that bent knee down dog. Land as light as you can, like a feather. Inhale, roll forward, high plank pose. This time, if you practice traditional chaturanga, exhale, lower halfway down. Inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale, hips roll back, downward facing dog. Breath in, right leg goes sky high. Again, we're keeping that foot facing down or toes facing down. Point the toes and lift from the back of the thigh. So don't let your right hip turn open. Keep it closed down towards the mat. Curl the knee in towards the chest, roll forward, step your right foot all the way through. Spin your back heel to the ground at that 45-degree angle for Warrior Virabhadrasana 1. Pressing into your feet to rise all the way to stand. Firm up your back quadricep. So the back knee shouldn't be bent at all. And then scissor the left inner thigh forward, which is going to help to square off the pelvis. Press down into your right big toe, and then lengthen the sides of the body. Take the arms up, maybe bring your palms to press. We're going to stay this first time for 3 rounds of breath. So it's the opportunity for you to sculpt and shape your pose. Not so much in a way to get it right, but that you are fully present, fully engaged. 2 more breaths. Last big inhale. Exhale, hands release down. See if you can keep exhaling as you step that right foot back, taking it high to low. When you come to your back bend, upward facing dog, breathe in, and then roll over the toes and send the hips back to downward facing dog. Breath in, left leg goes up. Exhale, left foot steps through. Anchor into the back foot. So pinky edge of the foot is down. Your heel is like a little prong, and you're working to plug that in. Make that your anchor point. Bend into your front knee as you rise up. Scissor your right inner thigh towards your left inner thigh. Move your left booty cheek kind of out to the left so it has its own lane. And then start to rise up. So shoulders over top of your hips. Maybe hands come to press as you take your gaze up. So arm bones are moving back. Maybe even your gaze is going up. Fill the shape with your breath. If you feel like you're working too hard to breathe, come out of it in some way that gives you the space for your breath. Exhale, hands release all the way down to frame your front foot. Step it back. Keep breathing out as you lower halfway, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, hips back. Downward facing dog. Landing for 5 breaths in your downward facing dog. And this time we'll let it be an opportunity to kind of reset. So if anything needs to move or shift or fidget, feel free to make that happen. And then settle in, maybe even closing your eyes so you can drop away from the surface of the body and maybe feel like you're connecting in a more energetic space. You can feel the thrum of energy as it moves from your legs all the way up through your torso and back down through your hands, like a circuit of energy that's giving and receiving from body to earth and earth to body. One more round of breath. Looking forward to the top of the mat. You might step, you might walk, you might jump the feet to meet the hands. Find your half lifts. And exhale, release to your forward fold. Let's come to Utkatasana again. Hips sink low and back. Squeezing inner thighs together as those arms sweep up to frame your ears. Exhale, rising all the way to stand. And then inhale to add the back bend. Exhale, hands come back to heart center. We're going to go through Sun Salutation B again, just a little bit more quickly. Inhale, Utkatasana pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, plant the hands, step or jump back, bent knee down dog. Roll forward, breathe in, high plank pose. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, right foot up and back. Exhale, step through. Inhale, press down into all four corners of that back foot. One breath in to rise all the way up, warrior one. Exhale, hands down, step back, full breath out. Keep going as you lower half leg. Upward dog and downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, step left foot through. Breath in, anchor the feet, and come all the way up. See if you can ride that inhale. Exhale, hands down, step back, keep exhaling, Chaturanga Dandasana. Upward facing dog or Cobra Pose. Hips back, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. So there's stillness in this, but that doesn't mean that it's dead. It's not stoned. Dropping in and feeling the currency running through your body with your breath, like you were breathing in through every pore. Notice where there's tension, and instead of chasing it away, draw your attention there. Use your breath as a guide from the inside. Begin to untie and release. Last round of breath. Looking forward, step, walk, or jump the feet to meet the hands. Find that half lift. And exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, Utkatasana pose. Sweep those arms all the way up, palms come to press. Exhale, rise to stand. Inhale to your back bend. And exhale, hands to heart center. Just for a moment, let your hands release next to your sides, palms facing forward in your Tadasana, in your mountain pose. So feeling the anchor of your feet, the squeeze of the legs. Lower body is working, it's creating the foundation, and the upper body we're working to free. Most of us tend to hold a lot of our tension there. We forget that we have this bottom floor, this basement level that we can construct the rest of our body from. Last big inhale. Open mouth, exhale. Let's come to Utkatasana pose again. Sink your hips low and back. Reach your arms up to frame your ears. Start to bring the weight into your right foot. Come up onto the ball of your left foot. We're gonna skate the left leg all the way back. So see if you can slide it. And I know some of us have stickier mats. Do the best that you can to just slide that left foot back and spin the foot out so that you're coming into your warrior one. Again, finding that leveling off of the pelvis by scissoring your left inner thigh forward. Firm up that back thigh as you bend into your front knee. One more big breath in, start to take the gaze up. Stay for the whole exhale. Inhale, front leg straightens, come up onto the ball of your right foot. Turn your back foot to face the long edge of the mat. As you exhale, sink your hips low and back and reach your arms back behind you. Ice skater pose. Think pelvis back and chest forward so that you get more stretch on the right inner thigh and so that you start to feel your glutes working for you. Keep looking forward and tighten those lower belly muscles. Maybe one more time, sink just a little bit lower. Bring all 4 corners of that right foot to the floor and bring it to warrior 2. Arms out over your legs. You might need to widen your stance a little bit. Let's see how you guys are looking. Oh my gosh, you guys are fantastic. They look gorgeous. Joe, think outer rotation in that front thigh so that that knee is pressing more towards the pinky edge of the foot. It's just gonna fire up your leg a little bit more. Nice. From here, revolve. Let your back hand release onto the back thigh. Right palm flips face up. Take it all the way up and back until you feel that big side body stretch. And then cartwheel your hands down to frame your front foot. Plant your fingertips on either side of your right leg, right foot. If you have blocks, you might want to grab them, or you might come up onto your fingertips. We're gonna try to lift the right foot off of the floor without taking the heel towards the glute. So that foot is staying up in between the hands, and you're lifting it to the best of your ability to work the core. For 3, 2, on 1. Extend your right leg all the way up and back. Bend your right knee and lift it towards the sky. Let your right foot dangle towards the left edge of your mat. Pull your left hip crease back and your left heel down. Press into all 10 of your fingers and try to move the sides of the body up and back so you're not collapsing into the shoulders. One more big breath in with that right knee lifted way up towards the sky. Extend that right foot straight back behind you, and then bring the right foot all the way down to the floor. So I want to show you guys something. We'll take like a brief detour, and then I promise we'll keep moving. Something that is super, super helpful for the transition from chaturanga into upward facing dog. And it's a tough one, you just kind of have to practice it. It's called like the secret toe or the magic toe action. I know that sounds crazy. But what we're doing, and you might notice when I come down and forward for my chaturanga, instead of just putting my feet down and transitioning to upward facing dog, I come forward, elbows in, and then I press back. So I press into my hands, and what that does is it makes sure that my shoulders and my wrists line up. So if we don't come down like that, so if I come down, if I come forward and this, and then bring my feet to the floor, you'll notice how my shoulders are in front of my wrists. It's a really slight difference, but it's gonna keep you from putting a lot of weight on the wrists. So let me show you one more time and then we'll try it all together. The action is, come forward, hug in, so you've got that 90-degree angle, and then I'm pressing into my hands to shift my toes back so that when I come into my upward facing dog, I've got my bones stacked. And it's gonna make your back bend feel a lot better too. So let's give that a try. From high plank pose, I'm gonna come and watch. Do the best that I can to give you guys a little bit of feedback. So you're gonna bend your elbows in, you're pressing into your toes so that your chest shifts forward. And then at the bottom of that push-up, press into your hands to shift your toes back. Yes, better. And you're coming into your upward facing dog when you're ready. Yes. It takes practice. When I first learned it, I was like, I don't know about all this, but I will say that now that I've been practicing it for a couple of years, it makes such a big difference. Yeah, if you want to try it one more time, go for it. So let's try that transition again. So Amanda, at the bottom, instead of just coming to your upward facing dog, you're actually going to imagine that you're going to press your hands forward. And when you press your hands forward, it's going to shift the rest of your body back. And that's at the bottom of the push-up. So if I come to here, I'm pressing into my hands. See how my whole body shifted back? And that way when I come into my upward facing dog, I've got the bone lined up. Give it one more try. Yeah. So right there, press. Yes, exactly. And then you come into upward facing dog from that. It takes just a little getting used to, but I swear you'll love it later. All right, so from downward facing dog, looking forward to the top of the mat, step, walk, or jump the feet to meet your hands. Come into your half lift, and exhale, release to your forward folds. Utkatasana pose, sink it back, find your chair, reach your arms up to frame your ears, and then exhale, rise to stand. Inhale, out of the back bend. Exhale, hands to heart center. Side number 2, Utkatasana, sink those hips low and back. This time bringing the weight into your left foot. Come up onto the ball of your right foot. Take your time, steady gazing point out in front of you. See if you can slide that right foot back and then anchor your right heel down. Scissor your right inner thigh forward as you bend into that front knee, taking the gaze up. Nice big length along the side of the waist. Inhale to straighten your front leg, coming up onto your front heel. Pivot your right toes slightly out to the side and then sink your hips back. Find that nice big stretch in your left inner thigh. Chest forward, tailbone back. Get a little lower so you feel your glutes, your belly, and your inner left thigh. And then bring it back to warrior 2. So left foot comes to the mat. Right toes are spinning to face the long edge of the mat as you reach through your arms. Revolve, back hand lowers. Left palm flips face up, breathe in. And then exhale, release your hands all the way down to frame your front foot as you come to a lunge. See if you can pop up onto your fingers or grab your blocks if you have them. You're going to try to lift that left knee in towards your chest without kicking your heel towards your glute. So that left foot comes off the floor for 3, 2, And on one, send the left leg up sky high. You're in three-legged dog. Bend the left knee, open the left hip towards the ceiling as you draw your right hip crease back and you pull your right heel down. Again, anchoring into both of your hands and making sure that it's not the shoulders that are opening. So try to square the shoulders off to the top of the mat. Yeah, that's beautiful. Take that left leg straight back behind you. Bring both feet down to the floor. And let's try that roll forward. Another opportunity to try that secret toe action. So remember that when you come down, you're pressing your hands forward to shift the rest of your body back. And then from there, you're coming to upward dog. And what that does is it gives you just a little bit more access to lining up the hands, and it gives you the ability to open the chest. Then roll over your toes and send your hips back. And it might feel like your downward facing dog is a little bit longer. For most of us, this is where we should be. Yeah. All right, look forward to the top of the mat. Step, walk, jump the feet to meet the hands and find your half lifts. Exhale, forward folds. Inhale, Utkatasana pose. Sit it back into your chair, arms up. And then exhale, rise all the way to stand. Hips forward, elbows bend, chest up. Or take the arms up and over the head. Inhale, hands back to heart center. And then release the hands next to the sides. One more round through that standing variation and we'll add. Inhale, Utkatasana pose. Sit it back, reach those arms up. Come up onto the ball of your left foot. Slide the left foot all the way to the back of the mat. Find your warrior one. Inhale, front leg straightens, come up onto your front heel. Exhale, ice skater pose. Sink those hips low and back. We're gonna take it to our balancing Ardha Chandrasana. So look forward of those right toes, land the right foot, land the right fingers, and then lift the left leg up to the height of the hip. Pull your right hip crease back, press down into your right big toe, and then start to turn that left hip, that left set of toes to face the side of the room. Maybe even starting to take your gaze to face the side of the room. Maybe even taking your gaze all the way up towards the ceiling. Start to bend your right knee. Let's not lift the right hand yet. I want you to start to bring your left toes down. And once the left toes land on the mat, then take the arms back out over the legs. Find your warrior two. Arms reaching towards the front and the back of the room. Revolve it, back hand lowers, right palm flips face up. We'll take it to side angle pose. Right elbow to the top of the right thigh. Right hand to the inside of the foot. And let's start with the left arm coming up and over the ear. So you're bending deeply into your right knee, but draw your right hip crease back and squeeze your right glute. Press the shoulder into the thigh, and then start to turn your gaze underneath of your left armpit as you reach. Pinky edge of the left hand turning down. Keep anchoring into the pinky edge of your back foot. Find the lift of your left arch. Option to bind. Left hand comes behind the back for half of a bind. For the full bind, right shoulder ducks underneath of the right thigh, and the hands might clasp. Don't force it if it's not there. It's definitely not a necessity. If you have the bind, pull your left shoulder back. You want to come back into that diagonal line from your back foot all the way up to your left shoulder. One more breath. Release the bind if you have it. Extend that left arm back up and over your ear so you're coming back into your traditional variation of side angle. And then let your back arm lift you, coming all the way back up into warrior two. One more time, revolve. And then release your hands down to frame that front foot. Take your right leg all the way up and back. Bend your right knee, open the right hip towards the sky. Option to stay or flip your dog. Left toes turn to face the space at the back of your mat. Right foot lands. And then turn your chest towards the ceiling. Draw your shoulder blades together and press down into your left hand so you're not collapsing into that shoulder joint. Then reach your right arm up and over. Press those hips up high. Take your gaze towards that extended hand. Bring the right hand all the way back down to the mat. Take the right toes up to the sky. Bring both feet down. Roll forward, high plank pose. Exhale, chaturanga. Press back. Bring the tops of the feet to the floor. And then really widen through your collarbones. Traction your hands back, lift your gaze up, squeeze your glutes. Roll those hips up and back. Find your downward facing dog. Look forward to the top of the mat. Step, walk, or jump the feet to meet the hands. Find your half lift. And exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose, sit it back. Sweep those arms up. Exhale, rise to stand. Inhale to your back bend. And then exhale, hands to heart center. Last standing side, sit it back, Utkatasana pose. Arms reach up. Bringing the weight into your left foot, glide your right foot all the way back. Find your warrior one. Anchor that back heel and squeeze the right inner thigh forward as you bend into your front knee. Inhale, front leg straightens, come up onto that left heel. Turn your right toes to face the long edge of the mat and sweep your arms back. Look forward towards the toes, land your left foot. Left fingers land in front of the foot. There's no rush. The slower you take those transitions, the more we start to find those mindful movements, changing the distribution of weight. Once you've landed the hand, pull your left hip crease back, lift that base of your outer body off of the thigh. So you're not kind of cheating yourself out of working those side body muscles. And then lift those right toes up, at least to the height of the hip, maybe even a little bit higher. Start to spin your chest to face the side of the room. Maybe start to take your gaze. Whoop, you lose your balance. That means you were trying something, you were going somewhere. No big deal if you lose it. Left hip pulling back, left squeeze of the glute. Start to bend your standing leg and lower your right toes towards the floor before you lift your left fingers. That way that transition happens really, really nicely. And then revolve it. Right hand lowers onto right thigh, left arm reaches up and back. Keep bending into that front knee. Exhale to side angle pose. So lengthen forward, maybe bringing left arm to the top of your left thigh. If you're taking that option, resist the temptation to put a lot of weight there. It becomes just kind of a balancing point. Front knee is bent to 90 degrees. Press the left shoulder into the left thigh and reach up and out through those right fingers. Right pinky finger turns down and then the gaze goes underneath of the armpit. Find the breath here. So if you're challenged with breathing in this variation, skip the bind. If you want it to work towards the bind, the half bind, right hand comes around the back and hooks on your left hip. Full bind, left hand comes underneath and the hands clasp. And then remember to lift back up again and then take your gaze up towards the sky. Squeeze those inner thighs towards one another. Power up the inner legs. Fill the shape with breath, even through the challenge. 2 more. Release your left hand down. Sweep that right arm back up and over your ear, and then let that back arm lift you all the way back up through center. 1 more revolve. Release your hands down to frame your front foot. Step back to take it through your vinyasa. From downward facing dog, take your left leg up and back. Bend your left knee, open your left hip towards the sky. Maybe staying here or flipping your dog, find wild thing. Right toes turn to face the back of the mat. Left foot plants. Wrap the shoulder blades together as you lift up. So right leg is straight, and then the whole left foot, or the ball of the left foot is on the floor. Left knee is bent. Wrapping shoulder blades together, take your gaze towards that extended hand. Place the left palm all the way back down to the mat. Left leg goes sky high. And then plant your left foot to the floor. Just for a moment, bring your hips to your heels. Let's come to child's pose. Knees wider together. Belly coming to rest in between your thighs, sending those arms forward, letting your forehead come to rest on the mat. Take a moment to just wag your hips a little bit side to side. Breathe up the back of your body. So really puff up the back of your lungs, your loins, the spot on either side of your spine. And then open your mouth, and as you release the breath out through your mouth, let your body get even more relaxed. Let go of the tension. And if your breath is still racy, let it be a little racy. Let it start to come to that normal, more even breath naturally. One more round of breath. Let's come back to downward facing dog. We're gonna take this into our pigeon pose. So some folks might find that blocks are helpful for pigeon. If you've got them, keep them handy. I know I definitely prefer pigeon pose with a block. From your downward facing dog, right leg is going to reach up and back, and then you're gonna bring your right knee behind your right wrist, your right ankle behind your left wrist, and let your back knee come down. So whether you know this pose really, really easily or not, take a moment to listen up. If that front leg doesn't come parallel to the top of the mat, point your toes instead of flexing them, so you've got a diagonal line. Squeeze the left inner thigh forward and give your right hip its own length. So if you were to imagine that the base of your pelvis was a blanket, you want to imagine pulling the corners of that blanket out to the side so there were really crisp, clean lines. If you have blocks, you might put them underneath of your hands and move those hands back so that they're next to your hips. And here we get a little bit more of a back bend. So those legs are continuing to work. Left inner thigh is squeezing forward. Press down with fingertips or palms on the floor or on your blocks, and move your shoulders back so that they're lining up over top of your hips. Widen across your collarbones. Maybe start to curl the gaze up towards the sky. Keep scissoring that left inner thigh forward. Still more, if you feel pretty balanced here, keep the squeeze of the inner thighs, bring your hands in front of your heart, or maybe sweep those arms all the way up. Remember, left inner thigh has to keep working forward. Right butt cheek has to move out. One more big breath in, reach up, look up, and then exhale, release those hands all the way back down onto your blocks. Move the left foot a little bit further back so that your right hip comes closer to the floor. And if there's still space there, you can slide a block, a blanket, a bolster, a pillow underneath of it, and bring your forearms all the way down to the floor. Just a little bit of that inner thigh squeeze. We want to keep that hold onto that. Maybe you're taking your arms forward and releasing your forehead down, but never losing completely that sense of squeezing in towards midline. Now, once again, we are going to call on our breath to guide us. So think about letting your breath push down, especially into the side of that right hip. And as much as you might be experiencing really powerful sensation, see if you can imagine that that breath becomes a tool to get inside of whatever is kind of built up or held. And that we remember that this is a moment in time. And when this moment passes, something else will take its place. Notice what's happening in your upper body. Relax your jaw and your neck, even your eyes, backs of the eyes. See if you can soften. Start to walk the hands back up the mat towards the legs. We're going to stay in this pigeon variation for just one more moment, and to add to that back bend just slightly, if you'd like, you're bending your back knee and drawing that heel in towards your glute. Now, if that hurts your kneecap, skip it. We don't want to do any damage to the knee. It's such an important joint. If you've got that foot drawing in, you might reach back with your opposite hand and draw that heel in towards your glute. And then release that foot all the way down to the floor and take your right leg all the way up and back. Give it a little shimmy shake, a little walk in place, whatever feels good. If you wanted to take a vinyasa in between sides, feel free to move through whatever variation of a vinyasa feels good or right in your body. And then we'll move to side number 2 for our pigeon pose. So left leg goes sky high when you're ready. Step that left foot to the opposite wrist. And remember that you want your left knee to be slightly out towards the side of your mat. So left hip and left knee don't line up, if that makes sense. And then once you've got that foot lower down, remember, diagonal line, toes point if you can't bring the thigh or the calf rather parallel to the top of the mat. Press down, squeeze squeeze in. So right inner thigh scissors forward, and then your left booty cheek, you want to make sure that it's not kind of clenched in towards center, that you're giving it its own lane, that it's allowed to kind of fluff out to the side. And then hands next to your hips, start to press up into that back bend. Keep that side, that scissor of the inner thigh action. When you build adductor strength, you are doing so much good for your body. We highly underutilize the inner leg in our daily life. Maybe hands to heart center, maybe arms extend all the way up. Really nice. Joe, that's beautiful. Tammy, that's beautiful. You guys are doing such a good job of powering up the legs, which is so hard to maintain. Take one more big breath in, find the full rise, that side body expansion, gaze up, and then exhale, hands release all the way down to your blocks, to the floor. Start to walk the hands forward without losing the sense of squeezing in towards midline. You might bring forearms down to the mat, and you might bring the arms all the way forward and release your chest. Yeah. And then allow your breath to become your main focus here. That in allowing a little bit more ease, you're also allowing the freedom of your breath to move into the space where we experience the most sensation. And if the mind is trying to wander away from what's happening and kind of giving you the storyline of something coming forward, see if you can just bring it back to the anchor of the sensations in your body. Even if you have a cat as a distraction. All right, let's start to walk those hands back towards the legs to roll back up into your slightly back-bended variation of pigeon pose. And then option if you'd like to bend your back knee and start to draw that heel in towards your glute. Remember that that right inner thigh keeps scissoring forward and you're popping up onto your left hand. Gorgeous, Amanda. And then when you're ready, release that back foot all the way back down again. And you're gonna step back to downward facing dog. One last time to give yourself that opportunity for movement. Maybe a final vinyasa. And then looking forward to the top of the mat. No rush if you're still working through one last vinyasa. Don't feel like you have to be exactly with me. We're gonna either step or jump through coming down onto our butts. So we're making our way onto our backs. Time flies when we're having fun, I hope. Soles of the feet to the floor, rolling yourself down. Try to keep your feet grounded on that ride as you come all the way down onto your back. And then walk your feet in so that you can just barely graze the back of your heel with your middle finger. Lining up knees over top of ankles. Making sure that your feet are about hips width distance apart. We're gonna press down into the feet to begin to roll up one vertebra at a time into a back bend. Back of the head presses into the mat, and then start to walk your arms underneath of you, maybe interlacing your fingers and reaching your knuckles towards your heels. So arms are straight. Pinky edges of your hands are pressing down. And from that anchor point, starting to lift your chest up even more. Lift your hips up even more. Now traction your heels towards your hands so that you're firing up your glutes a little bit more. One more time, roll that chest up. Now you have the option of staying put here, or if you wanted to add one more level of back bend, bring your hands next to your ears, fingers facing towards your shoulders, and come all the way up into full wheel. And you can do that with your hips lifted. So this is a reasonable transition. Yes. Five more breaths wherever you are. Beautiful, Joe. Try to draw your knees towards one another and think inner rotation of your thighs. Yes, that was a really nice adjustment. Two more breaths. And then exhale, bring it all the way back down. Lift your feet up towards the ceiling for happy baby pose. So feet up towards the sky, knees bending down wide towards the sides of your mat, down towards your armpits. Oh, hello, greyhound puppy. Take a little rock side to side. Try to keep pulling the pinky edges of your feet down. At the same time, you're pressing your feet into your hands. One final moment to reach through your feet, extending out towards the right and the left edges of the mat, or the sky. And then release your feet and extend them out towards the corners of your mat and the arms next to your sides. So we're coming into Shavasana, but if you prefer to do Shavasana on your own, or if you had something else that your body needs to do in order to feel complete in your practice, especially since we're in our own spaces now, you know, your energetic output is for you and you alone. So doing what you need in these last few moments before settling into rest. I will say that the rest of the practice itself was made, yes, in order for us to kind of treat our bodies like our abodes. So in the same way that when we clean our houses on a regular basis, we're making sure that dirt and filth don't add up and that it feels light and airy and homey. You know, we're doing that for our body, number one. But part of what we're doing in the practice of yoga, moving through the physical postures, is a preparation for us to be still. Something we so rarely afford ourselves in our busy lives, maybe more so now since we've been at home. Letting your awareness really drop away from the distractions around you. It doesn't mean that you don't hear sounds and that you don't feel sensations, but you're not letting them carry you away. Maybe imagine instead coming to the very center of your heart, and the energetic heart space really lines up with the center of the body, like along the spine, next to where your physical heart actually is. You might imagine that space to be kind of a deep well that you can nestle your awareness into. And at the bottom of that well is a brilliant glowing light. The expression of the true self, the uppercase you, the version of ourselves that we strive to be all of the time, and it's always there. Just sometimes we have to seek it a little bit more intentionally. See if you can rest in that warm light, bathing your awareness in all-encompassing love. Now that you've found it, you might invest in, the more you are aware of it and present to it, the more potent and powerful it becomes. So by breathing into that space, it starts to glow and vibrate and expand out in all directions, from your center into the rest of your body, around your body, engulfing the space around you. And then very, very, very gently, you don't have to lose that image or that feeling of maybe being boundaryless as you start to move very slightly, very gently, your head side to side. Your fingers and your toes might wiggle. You might moisten your lips. And then eventually just taking a big, juicy, long stretch. Doesn't have to have a purpose or a point. It's just the kind of stretch that feels really good. Before rolling onto one of your sides and letting your whole body kind of curl up into the fetal position. And then keeping your eyes closed, pressing yourself up into a seated position and bringing a hand to the belly, a hand to the chest. Breathe up into the support of your hands. Open your mouth and exhale. And then bring your palms together in front of your chest. Lift your thumb knuckles up to the space of your brows and very gently fold forward over your mat in an offering of your practice and that well of love that we came in touch with at the end of our practice, that all beings may one day see and experience that capacity within themselves. Om Mani Padme Hum. I bow to the jewel within the lotus, and you are that jewel. Thanks, guys, so much. If anybody has any questions, pop on. If not, I'm sure most of you saw that the studio is going to be reopening next week. Woot woot. But that if you're not quite ready to come back yet, there's still going to be some other offerings. So weekends, there's going to be classes at a farm in Davidsonville. One of our students has been kind enough to offer that space to us, as well as I think they're going to try to offer at least one class a day on the Zoom platform as well. And we'll keep posting those on our YouTube video.